Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of the A1 Autobody podcast. Thanks for checking us out today. I just have a couple of things to go over before before we actually get started with the episode. I'd like to apologize in advance for the audio quality on this. It's not very good. I tried to do the best I could with what I have, but I'm essentially using my phone for all of the audio capture and all of the editing, so it's not great. I'm looking into how to make it better, looking at ways to improve it. I am hopefully going to be buying a mic, so I am aware of the issue and I am working to make it better, and thanks for bearing with me. I'd also like to say that I apologize for stumbling over my words. I'm apparently a much better talker in person than I am on the phone, so hopefully I get better at that over time, and I can cut out a lot more of the ums and the ohs and the repeating myself. So we'll see how it goes. On today's episode, I'm talking with Tim Briggs, who's the inventor of the tape thing and the tape thing Caddy, and also the owner of Collision Edge. He's invented all kinds of different tools to help auto body shops do better work. And if you're interested in learning more about him, you can go check him out on collisionedge.com. Today we talk about his creation process, how he got started. We talk about his homemade RV, and a few other things. He's a really nice guy. Luckily, he was a really good talker, so I didn't have to do much work on this one. So, thank you again for coming on with me, and I hope you enjoy it. Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm good.
Thank you very much for coming on with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
So, you are Tim Briggs, and you are the inventor of the tape thing. And I think probably most of the people who are listening to this probably know what that is. But for anybody who doesn't, why don't you just give them a quick rundown of what exactly a tape thing is?
Yeah, so the tape thing is one of the tools that we make. It's a plastic device that slides and snaps into your tape core that allows the tape to free spool off of the core, if that makes any sense. You know how when you hold tape in your hand and you pull it, it kind of drags on your hand? Most people don't realize it until they feel the tape thing. The tape thing slides in your tape core, so the tape never burns your hand no matter how fast you pull it. The tape edge stays completely clean because there's a ledge as part of our patent that keeps the tape edge from ever touching anything. One of the big problems when you lay tape down, it gets dirty. And then you use that tape to mask the car, and now that dirt's in your paint. The tape thing eliminates that problem. The best thing about the tape thing is that it's magnetic. So you can stick it wherever, whenever, anything metal. The booth wall, prep carts, toolbox, the car, if you want to. Certain areas, got to be careful, but if it's a polished car, right? But so the tape thing works really well to keep your tape just near you and handy. We built it to begin with, and we realized that while guys loved it, and we actually made several. We made all the sizes of the regular tape, and we also made a version for the fine line thing because we had a lot of people asking for the fine line version as well. So we made that, and we had a lot of guys saying, "Well, you know, I work up on a ladder, and I work around Corvettes, and I work like you, big trucks, right?"
Right.
So, you know, we knew that it wasn't a complete system. So we made the Caddy. That's the tape thing Caddy. And the Caddy holds the tape thing, and it also holds several other things that you use commonly. So I've been in this business forever, watching guys work, watching guys what they do. They pick a piece of sandpaper up. They hold a razor blade in their mouth. They have a rag that they're wiping, cleaning parts with before they can tape. They have all these pieces and parts that they're dealing with. And most of the time, the guy's like flopping it around on the hood of a car, on the roof of a car, on the floor. Most of the sandpaper gets wasted abrasives are 10% of a guy's purchases, and normally sandpaper is a huge waste area. So we're trying to figure out a way to kind of capture all that. So the tape thing Caddy is an extension of that need to give everybody point of use at their fingertips. So the tape thing Caddy holds the tape thing with the tape. It also holds a razor blade, sandpaper, rags, a couple of other little features there. Razor blade's a big one. Razor blade on the ground is a $5,000 OSHA fine, right? So it holds the razor blade perfectly, and razor blade is a very, very dangerous item inside your shop. So that's the tape thing Caddy and the tape thing, if that makes any sense.
As someone who has worked without the tape, without anything to hold my razor blade for a very long time, and was one of those guys who carried it in their mouth, or you're carrying it in your hand while you're trying to climb on top of a dump truck.
Behind the ear is the number one place people put razor blades.
Really? See, that's surprising. In our shop, it's for sure in the mouth. Before we got these, everybody used to carry them in your mouth. You could find, if you could find a razor blade after the fact, you would see the actual discoloration on the edge of the blade a little. It would start to corrode the blade a little bit, and it would leave a little discoloration on it, which is kind of cool. But
this is anecdotal, but when I was a young rep, many moons ago, I used to always try to help my painters out. So I figured out really quick how dangerous razor blades were inside of a shop. I walked in the shop. The guy had a brand new box of mixing cups there, and I said, "Well, I'll just open those for him." So I cut the lid off the box, and I saw the razor blade. I was like, "Where do I put it?" So I stuck it in the side of the box. This guy came in, didn't see it, and cut his finger so badly that it was a life-altering move for him, right?
Oh my God.
So I learned really early how dangerous razor blades were. So when I started talking about the tape thing and the things guys use, razor blade was first and forefront in my mind about where and the things that should be used and things that should be safely contained. We'll never stop using razor blades. Some guys use X-Acto knives, and some guys use the there's some super knife. The Olfa knife is a super nice knife for trimming tape and that, but still, it's a sharp deal, and you got to figure out where to put it. So I see guys all the time. There's two magnets on the tape thing Caddy. The big magnet is on the outside. There's a small magnet underneath that a lot of guys overlook. That small magnet underneath is what holds the razor blade. So don't ever put the razor blade on that face of that big magnet, because it's going to stick out the side.
I was actually just about to bring that up, because there's even like if I'm not mistaken, with that magnet on the other underside, there's even like a little indent that actually fits inside of.
Yeah, and that was purpose built to hold a razor blade. And a lot of guys look at it and go, "Why would you put so much thought into that?" That guy that I changed his life that day, not knowing as a kid, that guy made that, right? Every little piece of experience that you bring with you every day and the things you go through are the things that shape what you produce. And I don't know, maybe that's a little crazy, but
not crazy at all. Actually, one of the things that I really admire about what you guys did here is just from an aspect of design, I think you can see all the thought you put into it. Like the little Velcro, there's a little piece of Velcro. I want to say it's underneath the magnet. And I had no idea what that was for when it came into the shop. My dad actually was the one who said it's probably for holding Scotch pads. And I said,
yeah.
And I said, no, that can't be it. And that's for sure what it was.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. So that spot there originally sat on my mind for 6 months, because when I built the original Caddy, it had two magnets on it, 2 bar magnets, and the bottom magnet was always going to hold that razor blade. I always had it designed that way, but I couldn't afford to put the second magnet on the thing after I spent $50,000 building the mold. Right? Honestly, this is how it happened. So I sat there and I stared at it. It sat on my desk for like 3 months, and I was mad at it because magnets are expensive. And that's the one thing guys look at the tape thing and the tape thing Caddy, and they go, "It's just a piece of plastic." Those magnets are like buying gold. And I know, because I bought a train load of them now. So you know, I knew there was something that needed to be there. And I was talking to a guy one day, and he was talking about sanding cars, and he was saying how, you know, he had used some Velcro to hook sandpaper, and I went, oh my gosh, okay, that's what's got to be there, a Velcro strip. So I did it, and it was good, and so we ran with it, right? But that's the kind of thing that you run across. You fail forward. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, how many versions of tape thing I've been through, how many versions of Caddy I've been through. It's painful, but you have to decide, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be good.
Another small feature I noticed that I really like is it actually it has like a contour to it so that it fits. It kind of wraps around your thigh instead of just laying flat on top of it.
Sure.
I'm sure that you at one point it was flat and you changed it specifically for that purpose. And I just think it's just extremely well thought out and smart. So I really wanted to, you know, say really good job on the whole thing.
Yeah, our actually the inspiration for the contour came from a pistol a pistol holster, a Glock holster that I bought.
I can totally see
that slid in my pocket, and it fit my leg. What most guys will tell you when they look at the tape thing and the tape thing Caddy, you go scratch the car with that. I'm not wearing that crap around a car, because the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bang into a car. Well, you know, obviously when you work around cars, you got to be careful. But what most of my users find after they use it, if they'll give it a shot, if they'll wear the thing for a day, like, you know, it doesn't feel, it feels awkward to begin with. If they'll wear it for a day, they'll never take it off, ever. Because it fits nice to your body. It becomes a part of you. It holds, you know, everything you need is right there. I mean, those little ears on the side, I get so many guys asking me what those are for. And I just tell them, well, that was kind of I don't know if that was an acid trip or what, but I had to figure out a way to put, to get you know, the tack rag or a wiping towel or whatever towel that a guy uses. House painters use rags all the time. So the way we built those is it just snaps in there so that it's held and it's there. So that's what the ears are for. If anybody's wanting to know, those little ears on the side, that's part of our patent as well. But rag holder.
That's actually one of the questions I had for you today.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to jump ahead.
No, that's perfect. I'm glad you answered it, because obviously I'm not the only person who wants to know. Have you noticed that there's a lot of, obviously you designed it for body shops originally, but have you noticed that there's carryover into other industries that you maybe didn't think of at first?
Well, here's the thing is, you know, masking tape, when I first started doing this, I've sold tape forever as a distributor. Masking tape all has the same 3-inch core. So whether it's duct tape or double-sided tape or fine line or carpet tape or every tape that I know of in the world is on a 3-inch core. So every tape will fit on the tape thing. We do offer 4 widths, and that's so 3/4 is the standard tape. Everybody calls it 1 inch, but it's really 3/4. We offer a 1 inch, we offer 1.5 inches, and we offer a 2 inch. Originally, we had just the 1.5 inches because that's the most popular size that everybody has. And the first one we made, I ordered, I think, 2,500 of them, and it was all the money in the world that I spent at that time to bring in this shipment. It went over well, so we made the 3/4, and then those went over well. So we went back and we said, okay, we might as well make the 1 inch and the 2 inch. So we made that, and we have guys now asking for 3-inch. I mean, some of the sandpapers, the roll papers, come on a tape core that's a 3-inch core. So I don't know. We'll eventually get there, I guess, little by little. If you guys out there keep buying them, we'll keep making them.
I just want to backtrack a little bit, and I just kind of want to get, so what led you up to this point? What brought you, you know, even before
maybe even you were selling paint and, selling to body shops. What brought you up to where we are today?
Well, it's really, I dropped my phone. I'm sorry. So really what it boils down to, I worked for a paint manufacturer for about 10 years. I saw during that time how poor distribution really was. I was a distributor in my early years. The guy who was out making sales calls, and when I got hired, I was hired sight unseen by this guy. His name's Tommy Fowler, and he had 4 stores in Atlanta, and he needed a sales rep, and I had painted a little, and I was cheap, and he needed somebody cheap because he was he really needed somebody cheap because his business was on the downside, right? So a friend of mine said, "Hey, this guy's looking for a rep. Can you be a rep?" And I said, "Absolutely, I can be a rep." I had no clue what a rep was. I just knew that it paid more than I made then, and I'd figure out how to do it one way or another, because if it can be done, I'll do it, right? So they I may be going too far back, but so I went to work as a paint rep. I basically was supposed to learn from another guy that was a rep that was leaving or going somewhere else, and he stayed like a week and left. And I get a call on Friday, and they're like, "Hey, I need you to go make sales calls on Monday." And I went, like, on the phone? What's a sales call? I had no idea what a sales call was. And I think a lot of reps still don't know what a sales call is today, even though they do them every day.
Yeah.
It's a sales call is about solving problems for a customer. Most of the reps today, they walk in, they check the cabinet. It looks like he's missing a gallon of clear. Well, let me get that for him. Looks like he's missing a box of sandpaper. Let me get that for him. Every 3 or 4 years, I might bring a new product by. And normally I'm just going to bring it by because the guy called me and wants to ride around with me. And, hey, man, here's a new guy from so-and-so that wants to show you his product. Check it out. So reps are a lot like that. And there's good ones, don't get me wrong. But the business has gotten so hard. What's happened is that reps, in my mind, a lot of them have been beat down and forgotten that their job is to solve problems for customers. So when I left PBG, I left PBG to start my own business, and because I figured I was ready to do that, and it didn't work out like I thought it did. It's a lot of hard work, and at the end of the day, I did the best I could, and I had to go back and regroup. So I ended up back in distribution, and I had this company, and they were a smaller company, and they were kind of struggling, and they needed some help getting out of a hole. So I helped them. But the way we helped them, when I went back, I said, you know what? If I'm going to work with a distributor now that I'm on this side of the fence again, I know that the average distributor, I know what the average distributor does. They show up, they kick a can, they take an order, and they leave. And on Friday, sometimes they play golf with a customer, maybe, right? So it's about entertainment. Distributor life's not easy, I'm just telling you. But so I take a little different approach. There's a lot of guys out there that get by and make good livings by being the nice guy and being just the friendly face and the likable person. And honestly, I'm not built that way. I'm built to solve problems. So what I did was I said, I'm going to go about this different. I realize that right now the only value I bring to a shop is dropping a product off at the door. Now, this was way before Amazon was even thought of. Way before. So back then, distributors were like, hey, that's all I need to do. They need stuff, I make sure and get it. And maybe they'll keep buying from me if I'm nice to them.
Just curious, around what year would this have been?
This would have been around, my kids were born in 2001. This would have been around 2007, 8, 9, 2008, probably.
Okay.
So, Amazon hasn't been thought of yet, and it's easy. It's you go in, you take your little special sheet, you say, hey, this week I got tack rags on special. You ought to buy a case of them. Or this week I got a deal on plastic. You want to buy a pallet of plastic. And a lot of guys made a good living doing that, but at the end of the day, they were selling themselves short. So what I did was I said, okay, so my customers have to be profitable. So in order for me to help my customers be profitable, what are the things that they're not doing now that they need to do? So we started looking, started investigating. There's all these back in the, around the 2012, 13, 14 range, there was a lot of talk about this new thing called lean. Lean, Six Sigma, theory of constraints. It was all, the rage. If you're not lean, you're not anything, right? So that was everybody jumped on this bandwagon. And I'm not knocking it at all. I'm not knocking it at all. But in a lot of cases,
can you, would you actually mind going into a little bit of what exactly lean is and what you mean by that for anyone who may not know?
Sure. No, absolutely. So it was kind of all the rage. Lean is about removing waste from your business. It's about creating processes that allow things to happen faster and more efficiently. It's about eliminating waste, essentially. And every process has waste. And once you see that every process has waste, it's really hard not to see it anymore. For instance, if you're making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? This is crazy. But if you're making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, what do you have to do? Well, I have to get peanut butter. Then I have to get jelly. Then I have to get a knife. Then I got to find the bread. And there's all these steps that have to be gone through. What actually happens in the body shop is the peanut butter is not where it needs to be, so I got to go find it. The jelly, we're out of stock on it because I forgot to reorder it, so now I gotta get that ordered. The knife, I lost it. I don't know what happened to it, but I'll go buy another one. That's waste. Right? So if you follow what I'm saying here, is basically what we're saying is that something that should take 30 seconds to do ends up taking 30 minutes to do because you got to go to the store. You got to order new products. On Amazon, it's a little easier now because you just go and click a button. But you follow what I'm saying?
Oh, I got
so
I absolutely
process drives everything. So I started trying to understand what it was that was causing my customers, because I had customers literally, and the worst thing that bothered me when I started this journey was some of my best friends are my customers. I'd call them. They'd be at work at 9:00 at night. And why are you doing that? Well, because we're not done. Why aren't you done? And you come in and you do an exercise and you say, okay, here's a car. Let's just do one. Let's make sure that when you take the car apart, you take it apart and you don't break everything. Or maybe if you do break something, let's write an estimate to fix it. Let's get all the clips. Let's get all the fasteners. Let's make sure that we've ordered the right parts. Let's make sure that we know exactly what needs to be done. Let's make sure we got the right photos of everything and make sure we're going to get paid by the insurance company. Because if you don't take good photos, another part of our tools or our photos, our photo tools, we'll get into that. You can't make money. So I started going down this line and saying, wow, body shops are pretty screwed up. Honestly, they're a pile of problems.
I don't think you could find a body shop that doesn't have probably a lot of waste going on inside of them, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sure they exist, but I think that just on average, the general body shop that you'd go into probably is a very inefficient place, which for someone like you who's probably looking for that probably drove you crazy.
80% of everything you do from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed is waste. I don't care how good you are. So if you go into life understanding that and believing that, you'll start finding the waste and seeing the waste. And once you start seeing the waste, for a guy like me, obviously you guys probably figured this out. I mean, I'm problem solver inventor. So what I told you earlier is that I enjoy solving problems. I was purpose built to solve problems for just in general, right? It happens that I landed in the body shop industry, and it happens that the body shop industry has a lot of problems. It's not because they're bad people. It's because every car is a different thing. Is a different parts. It's not the same thing over and over again. It's not a Chick-fil-A sandwich. You guys have Chick-fil-A's up there?
We don't have Chick-fil-A up here, but
Oh my
I know.
gosh, are you serious?
I've heard a lot about them. I've never gotten the chance.
So a Chick-fil-A sandwich is heaven on a bun. It's a piece of bread and a piece of chicken fried, and it comes with waffle fries, and that's it, right? And they've got this beautiful business built around building chicken sandwiches. Now there is variability, right? There is variability. Maybe I don't want pickles, and Chick-fil-A's done a great job at making the customer number one and really listening to the customer's needs. But body shops are typically just a train wreck waiting to happen. All I've ever tried to do in my whole career since I started this journey is say, how can I remove variability in the process? And that's kind of what this whole journey has been about.
I really thought about it until in that way until you just said it. But it really is when you're trying to design systems for your own day-to-day, it's almost really impossible from job to job to design a system that's going to work seamlessly, because every car, every truck, every accident is completely different. Even if they're similar, there's almost always going to be differences. So designing systems around that really is kind of trying to catch a greased pig.
Well, here's the thing and this is what keeps me up and drives me forward, I guess, is that every job is different, but in the same way, it's the same. Every job has a customer. Every job needs an accurate estimate, not a photo estimate, not an insurance estimate, it needs a tear down repair plan, right? So as long as you keep in focus that this job needs a repair plan and I'm going to write that repair plan, there's processes along the way that will help you do that. And some of the tools that we make, like the photo tools, are kind of designed to help aid that. I've helped a lot of guys with other products. One of the things I love is the Vitek is a private label brand of the company that I work for, National Coatings. It's a great company. They have these process information grids that sticks around the window of the car, and it shows you, hey, write the customer's name here and this here and that there, and you can know exactly where everything's going to go. And when you walk through the shop, it's easy to say, hey, here's the end date and the out date, because I write it in this box every time. It's not scribbled on the side of the glass with an X written on there sloppily, right? It's easy to see what I'm trying to see. So that the guy that did those products originally, this has been probably 5 years ago, I talked with him, and I had some influence in those as well. So I love solving problems. I guess I'm rambling here a little bit, but I love solving problems.
You're making a lot of sense, so just keep going.
I love solving problems, and everything Collision Edge does is relative to finding and solving problems for customers. I got to be careful which problems I try to solve, because if you solve a problem that nobody wants solved, nobody's going to pay for it.
Right.
But the average distributor doesn't have the mindset that when I walk into a shop, I'm looking for a problem to solve. The average distributor walks in and says, well, look here, I'm fixing to sell a gallon of clear coat. And what that's kind of led to is, well, hey, I'm going to go try to get your business. And I don't really know you. We've talked a little bit, right? But I would come in your shop and go, hey, well, you're paying $400 a gallon for whatever. I'll sell it to you for $275. Well, great, right? But that hasn't really solved the problem. It's cheaper, but it hasn't solved the problem. And that distributor hasn't owned the right or earned the right really to be in your shop, outside of the fact that he's just good at cutting a price or giving a special or whatever. At the end of the day, he's not going to be able to stay in business long term, because every distributor has to make money. And in today's environment, it's really hard. I mean, it's really hard, but it's hard on everybody. Anyway, so distributors need to focus more on solving problems than selling products, because the problems are what helps the customers either fail or succeed. So everything I've done has kind of been built around, there's a problem I think I can solve. There's a problem. It's a big enough problem that people will pay to fix. And I'm going to go solve it now.
So what did the first tape caddy look like? And do you remember like the aha moment when you thought that is a problem that needs to be solved?
Well, yeah. So I was in a body shop, and I was watching this guy mask a car. And one of the things I'll tell you that stand in a circle. There's an article on it. You should read it. It just says, draw a circle in your shop and stand there all day and just watch what happens. I was standing in the circle one day in a shop. It's a friend of mine's shop. And I was watching this guy tape a car. These guys are wet sanding, and that's another big waste of time for production. But he was taping a car. So he's taping the car. He's taping a fender. He puts the tape in his mouth because he's using both hands. Right. He puts the tape under his arm, and he's using like an arm and a half now. He puts the tape. He puts the tape in several places. And finally, he lays the tape down on the fender. And it doesn't quite, it lays on the edge, right? So it's teetering. So I watched the tape teeter and roll and fall. And a roll of tape, when it hits the floor, it never stops. It rolls like 100 miles.
Always, every time.
Yeah. And well, most of the time, though, what happens if you're near a car, cars have this magnetic attraction to them, right? The center of a car, if you drop a roll of tape, that roll of tape is going to be dead center of the middle of that car, guaranteed. It's like, I don't know, they should write a book about it. It's scientific fact.
Puddles have that same magnetic effect on tape.
If
there's water in the shop, you can guarantee if you drop your tape, it's going to land in it.
Well, so that's what happened here is I'm sitting there watching this guy tape a car. He sets the roll down. It slides across the floor and flops over in a puddle of water. It's a brand new roll of 3M green tape. I'm talking about it had literally had probably 5% of it used. Without a wink, he looks over at the tape in the puddle. Didn't even go pick it up. He just went and got another roll out of the cabinet.
I can assure you he doesn't work at A1 Autobody.
Well, right. But it was in the water, so it was already no good. But when I was standing there and I saw this happen, it hit me. Because what I was doing is I was working on the whole process side, the whole disassembly piece. That's the most important part of your whole deal, is taking the car apart and understand what needs to be done, document the repair, doing disassembly, reassembly. So I was working on a Caddy, a little magnetic belt device that you could put on your belt that literally when you took bolts and nuts and screws off, you could just slap them on your pocket and they would be there because they're magnetic, because they're stuck to the car. They're metal, right?
Right.
I was working on this. I was going down this whole magnet path, right? To say, hey, well, I'm going to hold my hardware with magnets. When I saw this guy do that, I said, wow. Why couldn't tape be magnetic? So the next morning, I was in Home Depot in the plumbing aisle with a roll of tape. I bought $100 worth of PVC fittings and furniture skid pads and magnets and stuff. My wife thought it was crazy. I came home. I took a union. I bought a big PVC union, big bulky PVC deal. I took it apart and put it in a lathe, and I turned it down with a lathe. I made the first tape thing. And you'll see it on some of my Instagram posts way back, but I made the first tape thing on my lathe that day in the shop. And I showed it to a guy, and at that point, it just press fit into the core. It didn't spin. It just press fit in the core. And I showed it to a guy, and he went, that's pretty neat. Should be adjustable. I went, yeah, wow, it should. So I went back, and I started trying to figure out how to make it adjustable. In the meantime, I figured out, well, if a roll of tape was loose on the core, when you pulled it, it's pulled smooth. I went, wow. So the whole adjustable piece was far off and hard to kind of accomplish. I'm still not done with that yet, but I had to come to some kind of stopgap that I could actually make something work. So we made the different sizes. So the tape snaps on, it free spools. So when you pull it, you never burn your hand. I've got a video on YouTube of me hooking up my kid's 4-wheeler to it and driving tape at 50 miles an hour and not burning your hand. So it worked. Anyway, so I was sitting there watching this guy mask a car, and it didn't work out. And I went the next day. I was at Home Depot. I made this thing. I called everybody I knew inside the business. I met a lot of people at this point and says, hey, I need to find somebody that could help me make this thing. And I struck out. I struck out everywhere. I don't know anybody. Okay. So one day I found this guy that actually goes to our church that is an industrial designer. He said, well, I can't help you with the sourcing it, but I can draw it like in CAD. And I was like, CAD, what's that? I had drawn the first one in the free version of Google SketchUp. You know, and I kind of drawn it. It was ugly. I could show it to you. It's really ugly. But,
what is CAD?
Well, CAD is that's the industrial design software that they use to basically. It's like grown up. It's what they use to build molds with, basically. So anyway, he drew it for me, and he said, "What you ought to do is just get about 5 of them made, you know, like samples." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do that." He's okay. So they took a plastic block and a lathe, and they basically turned and made me 5 tape things.
Who did this?
It was just a friend of mine.
A friend of yours.
But
a friend of yours made the original tape thing.
Well, he's the one that actually drew the design for me off of my design, and then had a guy basically create a tape thing out of a solid block of plastic.
Gotcha.
It wasn't molded at that point. It was really carved, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
So I spent $1,500 to have 5 tape things made.
Ooh.
And I got them home, and I looked at them, and I put magnets in them. I glued magnets in them. I glued the furniture skid pad stuff on that I had from Home Depot, and I went, all I know to do is take it out to some guys and have them look at it. And luckily, I got some friends that won't laugh at me, and I took them out and I gave them to them. I said, "Look, try them. Just use them." And I've got one of them still somewhere around here, but they used it, and they're like, "So honestly, it's pretty cool." Really? Okay, pretty cool. So does that mean I can sell them? Well, I don't know, but they're pretty cool, right? So this is along the lines of the time I've known this guy. Are you familiar with Polyvance? I
am not personally, no.
Well, Kurt Lamon is the president of Polyvance. They're a company that does a ton of plastic repair stuff. Kurt is the original. Kurt's the quintessential plastic guy in the industry, right?
Okay.
So he makes a nitrogen welder that's just phenomenal. A hot air welder that welds plastic.
Oh yeah, I believe. I'm not sure if we have that brand, but we do have a plastic welder at the shop.
Yeah. So the original company that I think Kurt was involved in or bought out or whatever made a soldering iron welder, which was like a hot iron, almost like a soldering iron that basically had some different tips on it that would allow you to melt plastic. And back in the day, that's all they could do. So Kurt's deal was actually bringing in the hot air piece. But anyway, so he had a manufacturer overseas that made his components. And he says, "Look, this person here, this lady, sent her an email. If you got a CAD drawing, she'll give you a price on making you a mold, and you can maybe get some parts." Right. So I was super excited. I did my best to keep everything here in the country.
Right.
But dude, you can't afford to make a mold here in the U.S. What? I mean, like a mold for that, the tape thing, just the tape thing, not the Caddy, just the tape thing. The first price I got was $35,000.
And now this is just the mold. This isn't actually any completed tape things. This is just the mold.
No, that's just a mold. That's a hollow cavity they dump plastic into.
Right.
Right. So, the mold cost in China is obviously less. And, I always had some hesitancies about China, and I heard all these stories about child labor and this and that and the third. So I said, you know what, I'm going over there. So I got on an airplane and I flew over there, and I met these people. It's a family. It's a mom and a dad, and they've got a couple of kids, and this is what they do. So I looked at their manufacturing place. I'm like, okay, no, this is not a sweatshop. These are not slaves working here. These are people that want to make a living. So we did it, man. We made the tape thing. We made the tape thing Caddy. The Caddy took me 2 years, honestly. I had the Caddy kind of designed before I even did the first tape thing, but I did the tape thing first because that's what I knew guys would buy and hopefully buy and tell me if it's going to work or not. But I spent 2 years alone designing that Caddy. The tape thing, I think I probably went through 16 variations of it. And even today, there's things I want to change about it. But, it is what it is. But
that actually reminds me of I just recently I was watching a documentary about Ferrari, and they had turned one of the rooms in the manufacturing plant into he called it his Hall of Horrors. So anytime there was a failure or anything, he always kept all of them, and they were always in a room, and they would actually have meetings there. So that way there was no reason to ever make a second mistake like the first one. Do you
Sure.
do you keep your old prototypes and all of your old tape caddies and tries around to remind you of stuff like that?
It's funny that you asked that because I've actually got a shadow box that I'm putting together that has every version of every tape thing I ever made. From the first ones that I turned to the first, so the first tape things were, I shot them in a teal color because that was a private label color for single source. And so I ordered 2,500 of them in that teal color because I wanted to give it a shot, and I figured single source helped me promote them. Well, those teal ones, if you notice, they've got 3. If you ever see one, you'll see them on Instagram. Instead of having the 2 fingers, there's 3 fingers, right? There's a finger on each third quadrant that you can squeeze to put the tape on.
Right.
Well, I didn't realize when I made it that guys really, the opposable thumb is designed to work in 2 directions. So the guys are trying to figure out how to depress all 3 of these fingers at one time, and they couldn't figure it out. Right. So I went back and designed the 2-finger. I changed it to the 2-finger tape thing, and I added those lift notches in there that lets you lift the core off. It's little knots that lets you, because when the core was empty on the original tape thing, you couldn't get it off because you couldn't get your finger under it. So you notice those notches on the side, those are a result of, I made 2,500 tape things, and I realized that when the core was empty, it was really difficult to unload it. But we sold them all, and guys loved them. I mean, we sold everything that we had, and we doubled down. And man, I ordered 20,000. I ordered 10,000 3/4, and I ordered 10,000 inch and a halves, and we sold them.
And how long did it take you to sell that many of them?
It was about 18 months.
So you guys are, I mean, they're really moving, huh? At least that seems like a lot to me.
Yeah. So we sold those, and basically, and again, this business, we're not getting rich. We're putting the money back for our kids' college, but it's expensive to run a business.
Oh,
every penny that we made or could lay our hands on went back into new molds. We redesigned the tape thing again. We made the Caddy. The Caddy was ungodly expensive, but we just kept pushing everything back into the business. So we built the Collision Edge warehouse. That's where I'm sitting right now. We built it to hold inventory because we have a long-term plan that we're going to make this thing work. So we're not rich people. We're common people. We live out in the country, and we just love solving problems for customers. And I'd like to say that I could retire, but I have a day job, and I'm going to keep my day job because this is just something. It's kind of a launch pad for me to be able to do the thing that I love, and that's helping customers.
Now, is your whole family involved in this industry?
Sure. Yeah, my wife handles sales. You guys will meet her, Ginger. And my sister-in-law, Pam, Ginger's sister, does our shipping, receiving. She does our books. She comes in and works, a couple days a week with us. And she handles things, and she does a great job. I'll tell you this, if you guys order a tape thing from us, she's going to have it to you within like 3 days. You're going to have it. So she does a great job for us as well. But, and our kids, I made the first 2,500 tape things in our living room.
and my kids helped me. Had to put some fans on and had to wear a respirator because the super glue was really tough, but we got past all the super glue now. But anyway, yeah, I mean, the kids work in the business. The kids help us fill orders. It's our American dream, and I want my kids to understand that when they go to college, that where that money came from, and it's all for them. And we've been able to help some other people too. I mean, we support the Camp Hawkins is a special needs camp that's up in North Georgia. We got a heart for those people that every 8 weeks of summer, there's 8 different groups of kids that get to go through there. We enjoy helping them, and it's fun to me to be able to help people. I mean, you're talking about Jeremy Winters. Jeremy Winters, I don't know, you know that painter fella. He's a guy on Instagram that we've been able to help some, and he's helped us a ton too. There's a lot of cool people in this industry that are just trying to, keep it real and help people. And that's what we're doing.
I got to say, I was extremely surprised when I had first started our Instagram at the amount of people who are on there who are doing this thing, who are in the same industry. I didn't think, I mean, not so much with the trucks, but just in general, the amount of body shops and the amount of body guys and painters that are on Instagram, and the community that's really growing around the industry is really pretty fantastic.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, there's guys like, I'm going to leave some people out here, but Miguel, he's doing some amazing things at, the whole refinish culture thing. And then Connie, Girls Behind the Gun, Jeremy Winters, and you got guys like Urethane Kingpin. He's a super cool guy, Mike, that does that actually works for Merca. There's a lot of people that are doing this. I mean, and then the technicians. I mean, Paddock Paint Works. I mean, Rob Paddock is just a phenomenal guy that's just trying to make it happen. And nobody's really doing it for glory. I think what it boils down to is we're creating a sense of community that is a place to belong.
For sure.
Louis Morales.
I think if you're doing it, Louis Morales is he actually is also he paints trucks too. At the big.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite dudes, man. Have you seen some of the videos and stuff he's done with the tape thing?
Yeah.
I mean, people honestly think that I pay him to do that. I'm broke. I can't afford to pay anybody to do anything. But that dude has been an awesome. I mean, he keeps me up, and that's the thing about what we're doing is every time somebody posts a tape thing on Instagram, there's days when I don't want to get out of bed. Honestly, there's days when I want to take all this stuff out here in the warehouse and load it in the truck and take it down to the county landfill because it's hard. But those guys that get on there and go, "Hey man, check this out. This is cool. Make a little funny video, whatever." Those guys are our fuel. Those guys are what keep us going. And maybe that's crazy, but at the end of the day, those people that we've met through social media, think like KB Collision. He's just these. I'm talking about Savage PPE. I'm talking about Eric Hyde, Kristen Felder. You name it. There's some really, really cool people that have come along and are walking alongside with us that are just. It's just an amazing experience.
I definitely don't think you sound crazy. I mean, you made a great product and a well thought out product. One of the reasons I asked you on here is because I don't know you. We've talked a little bit. You seem like a really awesome dude, but you just made a product that really, that works and it works well. And I think that you deserve to have your product shown because you obviously put a lot of heart and soul into what you were doing. And I think, you deserve the recognition for that. And I think probably other people see that too. And that's why they have no problem. I don't think anybody really thinks that you're paying any of us.
Well, this may sound a little sappy, but at the end of the day, the only reason I do this is for the love of family and for people. I just love helping people.
I mean, I can definitely.
It's a very cool thing to know that you have what your purpose is in life. I know that my purpose in life is to solve problems, and once you know what your goal is, and once you're doing what you enjoy, you'll never work a day in your life because it's just what you're meant to do.
I think a lot of people spend a lot of their life looking for exactly that
Sure.
that sense of purpose and that thing. I think it's incredible that you've managed to nail it down so early. How old are you, by the way?
I'm too old, man. I'm like, let's just call me. I need to check with my wife. Actually, I lose track. I think 45. I think it's 45 now. I'm like I'm over halfway to dead.
And how long have you been selling the tape thing for?
We are just over 3 years.
Wow. So you guys
3.5 years.
You guys have made quite the splash for just 3 years.
I'm sorry?
You guys have made quite the splash for just 3 years.
Man, we're really working hard to get the news out there, but we probably could do it a lot better, really, if we had some know it all about how to do it. So
one of the things that really, when you were talking earlier about your life as before, when you first started getting into the industry, you said that they asked you if you could do the job, and you said, "Hell yeah, I can do it," and you had no idea what you were doing. And I think that's really great. Did that same kind of attitude follow you into the production and the creation of the tape thing?
Man, absolutely. I mean, I believe life is about failing. I mean, that's it's in general. If you're not failing, you're not going anywhere. I believe that you fail forward, you fail fast, you learn from your mistakes, and you keep going. Because if you never fail, you're not really learning anything. And that's, I guess I came from my parents were old souls. My dad was a child of the Depression. Interesting story. So he grew up on the creek bank, laying in the mud and thinking, love the outdoors, and thinking, one day I want one of those RVs that you can like drive around like a mobile house. My dad never had a lot of money, but Daddy built a motorhome out of a garbage truck in 1985.
No way. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard, I think.
Well, listen, so this motorhome was in Motorhome Life in 1986. He built it down the cow barn. And basically, I grew up as a kid going, oh, I guess we're going to build a motorhome today. And we did. And I think he built 4 of them before he was done. Right? And the last one was in Motorhome Life. But so it's really about learning to laugh at yourself, learning to fail, and learning from your mistakes.
Where did the motorhomes end up? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I still own the one that was in Motorhome Life in 1986. It's still around.
That's amazing. Could you, after this is done, could you send me a picture of that? I'd really like to see that.
Absolutely, yeah. I had looked online. This was before the internet, right? So I bet I could find it on the internet and some of the old Motorhome Life issues. But yeah, it's he came home one day. I'm way going off topic, so you can delete most of this if you want to.
No way, this is all going in. This is spectacular.
I came home one day and there was this low boy outside, and there was a garbage truck on it, and I'm like, well, that's new, because we grew up on a farm. We had a lot. We had a little bit of land and a lake and whatever. We had some cows and stuff like that. And my daddy just built. My daddy built his house. He built my sister's house. He helped me build my house. He's in construction, right? So I come home one day and he's like, well, I'm gonna build a motorhome. I'm like, really? out of that? And he goes, yeah. So he starts taking everything off. He sells the dump. He sells the compactor. He's down to bare bones. He's got a frame and a motor and a transmission. Cat 1160 motor and an Allison transmission. And he goes, okay, well, it's too short, so we got to add 12 feet to it. So I was like, how are you going to do that? Well, like this. He welds the frame up, adds 12 feet to it. Then we go down to the barn and we lay plywood out on a frame, and we draw the left-hand side of the frame out of 2-inch metal tube, and he laid it out and welded it and set it outside just like you build a house, So anyway, we built a motorhome out in the cow pasture, and it was good. So I guess that's the thing that I got the most to thank my dad for. Is you just got to go get it and never fail. You're going to fail, but the only true failure is when you give up. So we went after it. When this whole thing with the tape thing, I bugged everybody I knew until I found Kurt Lamon, the guy that owns Polyvance, and he said, call this lady. I called everybody I knew. I need to find somebody that can do plastic injection molding. He said, well, here you go. Here she is. So I said, okay, great. So I called her, got on a plane, went over there. That's the kind of thing. That's the American dream. And that's what we've lost so much of in the world today is everything's like popcorn, like microwave popcorn. You put it in a bag, you hit a button, and you got popcorn in 30 seconds. Well, real life is not that way. Real life is hard. And there's a lot of guys that probably have a more advantage than others because they have, some money behind them, and that's good. It's good for them. But just because you don't have money behind you, don't mean you can't succeed. You just got to believe. You got to sell your ass off. So, I don't know. I probably went way off topic there. I probably even lost where I was supposed to be. But
no, you're not supposed to be anywhere. This is way better than anything I possibly could have hoped for. Honestly.
So, we do make some other tools, and if you guys want to check them out, our website is www.collisionedge.com.
I'll also link that up in the show notes and everything.
Yeah, thank you. So Collision Edge, interestingly enough, we took a while figuring out what name to call our company, and not that it really matters or anything, but we believe right now that collision is in peril. We believe that there's this thin line between success and failure, that if a body shop can't walk, he's going to slip off one side of the cliff or the other. We know that we're in a day when consolidation has never been more rampant than it is today. We know we're in a day when insurance companies are controlling work left and right. We know we're in a day when, honestly, 96% or 97%, looking at some of the Toyota stats, 96% of cars repaired in shops today are repaired improperly. And that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
Because today's cars are not built like yesterday's cars. High strength steel, you have to respect. You can't do the things you did to steel in the old days. It just doesn't work. Cars are designed to save lives now. Cars are designed to total now, honestly. And a lot of guys are afraid by that. But there's a lot of shops that make a lot of money handling totals. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that this industry is in peril, and I want to be a part of the solution. And what I've done so far, it really doesn't amount to a hill of beans compared to what needs to be done. But I want my customers to look to Collision Edge and our partners, the guys we roll with, to be a solution provider and a guy to come to. I don't have all the answers, honestly. I know some smart people. About all I can do is hook you up and get the answers for you. But I think that's all a rep or all anybody that sells something has to do is just get the answers.
I actually heard a very scary statistic the other day that the average age of a body technician or painter right now is 39 years old. And that's the average. I'm practically an infant compared to that. I'm going on 31 this month.
Sure.
So, I mean, 39 years old, if we don't start repopulating that workforce, it's only going to keep getting older. A lot of the guys with the most experience are going to be retiring in the next, 10 years. And a lot of shops are going to suffer for that.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. We said this earlier. 80% of every process is waste. So realistically, in a perfect world, the industry could probably function on 20% of the current shops that exist.
Yeah, probably.
Because of all the waste. So, and consolidation is rampant. Consolidation is not a bad thing. There's a lot of good companies out there that have many shops. The thing that we got to be very cautious and careful of is that we don't turn into McDonald's. We don't turn into, because the collision repair is not making a hamburger. Collision repair is things get broke. Things need to be fixed back to a manufacturer specification by a certified shop. I'll tell you out there, the shops that are out there, if you've got the opportunity to get on a certification program for an OEM right now, run, don't walk, and get that done, because those guys are going to end up being the people that control the work over the insurance company, because the OEMs are going to own the space cradle to grave. They're not giving that up.
I mean, I don't think that's really necessarily a good thing. I don't think it seems like we are in kind of like a weird limbo right now where the insurance companies want to keep getting things cheaper and cheaper, but you can only go so cheap and still do the right job. And that's one of the things I think a lot of times is a tension point for shops and insurance companies.
Well, why do you think OEMs have certification programs?
So that they don't get sued when they get their cars repaired wrong, would be my guess.
Well, that's certainly a piece of it. The bigger piece is that what OEMs are finding is that, and I may get this stat wrong, but this is just a stat I'm pulling out of my head, so don't anybody quote me on this, but
I promise I won't hold this against you.
OEMs find about an 80% defection rate after a collision repair. So if you're driving a Ford today and you wreck it and it goes through a body shop and it's fixed, however it gets fixed with whatever parts they fix it with, and it drives out and it's not the same car it was before it had the wreck, the next time that customer buys a car, they're buying a Chevy.
Right.
So the OEMs are working really hard at making cars. Basically, I mean, obviously the OEM's goal is to make cars that people don't die in ever. And when you look at how many computers are in a car now, it'll scare you. I mean, I was talking to a guy from Honda last week, and he didn't tell me exactly how many computers there were in the car, but it's a lot. It's not one. It's 30, right?
Right.
So, or more. So he was telling me that they're looking at technology right now. The traffic cams, right? This is almost like some of that Matrix kind of stuff, but the traffic cams right now are looking in 4 directions for people running red lights. Well, their cars are actually looking and connecting with those traffic cams and looking around the corner to see what else is coming before they go through the intersection.
Wow, that's wild.
That's crazy, right? So the cars are going to get increasingly harder to repair. A lot more cars are going to total, which is okay because we got a lot less technicians now. The OEMs are going to keep selling cars. That's a fact. But the OEM's also going to have strict control over how that car gets fixed, because when there's more technology in a passenger car today than in a passenger airliner, think about that.
Right.
It's a big deal.
That is. Another factor to consider is that there's probably going to be a lot less accidents as the cars keep getting smarter.
Oh, no doubt. Well, you saw the Tesla last week on the news going down the road with the guy sleeping behind the wheel.
Yep.
Right, speeding, asleep behind the wheel.
Yeah.
That's real, and people go, "Well, it's just going to be 20 years before autonomous cars hit." I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a minute. I believe that within, inside of 10 years, people won't even own cars. They'll just hit an app on their car, and Uber will drive up with no driver and pick you up, take you where you want to go.
I wonder.
It's going to happen.
It's actually something it's funny that we're talking about this. I think about that a lot. I think about I try to think of where the future of cars is going. Because cars I think in my personal opinion, cars to American cars have been such a huge part of the culture. It's wild to think that, one day it won't really matter anymore. It's a very strange thing to think about. But when, for instance, I was talking about this the other day. My dad used to paint. He can remember painting, in the 80s and the 90s, all kinds of crazy paint jobs on work trucks. Everybody used to get their truck painted up with custom jobs. You don't really see as much of that anymore because everybody leases now.
Yes, exactly.
We paint probably more white than any other color that runs through our guns.
Yeah, it's a fact.
So
that's.
It's just very strange to think that maybe one day owning your own car won't be something you would even consider doing.
Well, I think people will always own cars. I don't want to say that, but the older cars, for instance, all they're going to need is a black box that sits under the seat. That continually says, "I am here. I am here. I am here. Here's my speed. Here's my direction." No different than the airplanes do right now with the transponders in them that tells everyone here where the airplane is. So you could have not an autonomous car, but a connected car.
Right.
That's connected to the web, that's connected to every other car out there, and people that are driving autonomous cars go, "Oh, there's one of those people that's still holding the steering wheel." Look out for that guy. There's only one or two of them left in 15 years from now, but it'll probably happen. And the crazy thing is the minute the cars leave the road, autonomy is easy because everything that flies could be autonomous.
Right.
You look at drone technology now, it's crazy. Everybody laughs at me, but how many years ago was it that you'd think that you could buy a drone that you could pick up, fly 5 miles from your house and hit a button and it come back and land in the same square you freaking took it off from? Right?
Right.
So battery technology is getting better. That's a little far-fetched. That's some Jetson stuff right there. But, you got to think that way. Doesn't hurt.
I know that Elon Musk is doing a lot of interesting stuff with tunnels, and that I heard him talking about how it would make more sense to go down than it would to go up.
It's very possible, and that's a really good thought. He's a genius.
Yeah, obviously he's making a lot more money than me.
Did you see how? So I was out in L.A. not too long ago with a thing we were doing, and I guess he was testing that tunnel. So you know how it works, right? It's a sled.
Yep.
That accelerates you from 0 to 120 miles an hour.
I think it's fast,
0 to nothing,
isn't it? Because I thought I heard him saying it was closer to 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, I don't know. It may be, but basically your car loads on the sled, and the sled is what's controlled. So now your car's autonomous because it's inside of a system that's being held by an autonomous vehicle that's also holding other autonomous vehicles. It's kind of genius, really.
Oh,
I hate to say it, but
no, it's extremely smart. It's definitely, but all that stuff goes way over my head. I'm just a hillbilly from New Hampshire who paints trucks.
Well, I'm the same way. I used to paint everything white at the airport.
Oh, you used to paint
ground support equipment. That was my first painting, my first real painting gig, way back in the day. Centauri. I sprayed Centauri out of a 55-gallon drum. So I know about painting big stuff.
We actually did a few of those tugs, but I think we did 3 or 4 of them, but we never did more than that. But those are neat little vehicles to drive.
Yeah, it was crazy, and they were super easy to do. You grind them with 60 grit, and you spray Centauri on them.
Yeah.
As long as they're white from 10 feet away, they didn't care, right? I mean, that's what they did. It's a little crazy to think about now, based on what I know, but yeah, then it was it's 1/4-inch sheet metal, so you couldn't screw it up.
Right.
We'd sand them a little bit, and they just squirt them with Centauri. So it didn't matter if it stuck to the paint either, because you're going to repaint it within 13 seconds, because they were going to go out and scratch them up. We painted the same tug probably every month at Delta.
Really?
Yeah, they just want them white. They want them white, so you look out the plane, you can see white tugs. So by God, we painted them white. But so I don't know. It's an interesting business, and I hope I could be part of it for a while longer. And I think that there is the shops, the technicians are going away. Honestly, some of them probably need to go away. The cars are getting more technical. I think you're going to see every shop's going to have an IT person on staff. Within the next 5 years, they're going to have to reprogram computers and all the sensors and things you can't do now. You can't just paint a bumper anymore. You have to look and go, well, can I paint the bumper?
Right.
I may have to get an OEM bumper because it's going to screw the sensors up if I, use anything else, or if I try to repair it, or it's already got one paint job on it, so I can't paint it again. Let's get a new bumper. So there's a million problems that exist inside of body shops, and the problems aren't getting smaller, they're getting bigger. So I feel like for an idiot like me that likes solving problems, there might be a future, but for now we're just going to keep doing what we do and loving people and loving customers and trying to make it go like everybody else.
Absolutely. And I think at least I hope we start to see a higher standard. I think the body industry is extremely it has a very low barrier of entry, so you get a lot of people who don't really know what they're doing, selling a bill of goods basically. And I'm hoping we see
so how is it that you've got to have a certificate to cut somebody's hair, but you can cut somebody's car in half with nothing?
Well, one of the things that we noticed is, for us anyways, is the way that we really set ourselves apart is we just do good work. So it's always our goal to try and make the trucks that we work on look as best as they possibly can. We want them to look as if they were coming, heading on their way to a show or coming right off the floor. And it's amazing that in our industry, the way that you set yourself apart is you do the job correctly. You do it the way it should be done. That's set yourself apart, which I always think is an interesting little thing.
I'm not sure how the big trucks are compared to the OEMs, but I guess they have repair procedures for everything now that they have documented out.
They do. It's a little bit different. The commercial fleet stuff's a little different because it's not quite the same.
They haven't evolved as far as the automotive have.
Yeah, no, they're definitely. I would say they're a few years behind, and they also it's just you can do a lot more because it's a lot thicker. Most of them are they have a lot. They still have that thick steel on them. You can save a lot more than you can on cars.
The challenge, there's a lot of people that can save a lot of things on cars too. The challenge is actually how that car performs in a wreck after it's been repaired.
Right. You can save things safely. You can save a lot more safely on trucks than you can on cars.
Because a common misconception is that stronger is better. And I watched a demonstration one day where a guy took an egg and put it in a box and smacked it on the ground, and it opened it up and it was all broke open. And then he put the same egg in another box that had the right foam in it and the right design. You could smack it 100 miles an hour and it wouldn't break. That egg is a guy's brain. Right. So I mean, that's the thing, is a lot of guys in the automotive space right now that call themselves artists, and honestly, I hate to say it, they're butchers, because the people that wreck that car next time are going to die.
Yeah.
Because they can't fix the car the way that, it was intended. They have to follow a procedure. And I know back in the day that the automotive guys, there were no procedures. They looked to the reps to go, hey, how should I fix this? Well, here's some new glue. Spooge that on there and stick that together, and I think that should hold. That's the way we went about things.
Right.
And, I remember me as a rep going, OEM says what? OEM standard what? They don't know what they're talking about. Well, they do now, right? So you can't just dismiss them and go, well, I think I know better, because they've crash tested. They've done these repairs. They've crash tested them. They understand how it performs and the materials involved and all that good stuff. So, it's a day and age when geniuses need to kind of go away.
Right.
And the guys who can read a book and understand how to fix a car are the guys that are going to keep people from getting killed the next time they have a wreck.
For sure. And I think that's definitely the way the industry is going. I know you can't even buy Ford. You can't even buy some Ford parts anymore unless you have a certification through them.
Well, yeah, and BMW is the same way, and that's the way it should be. The OEMs shouldn't give a weapon to a guy to murder somebody with.
Right.
And that's honestly what's happened. I mean, you see that, so you heard about the John Eagle case, right?
I not off the top of my head. I don't.
So John Eagle is a big dealership, or a big group out in Texas, and they repaired I think it was a Honda Fit. They glued a roof on a car that was hail damaged. It was just a hail damage. It wasn't even structurally really damaged. It was just hail damage. So instead of straightening it, they glued a roof on. Well, the OEM procedure said weld it. So a guy that had the car fixed sells the car to some other couple. This other couple has a wreck. It's found during the course of the investigation that the car was not repaired properly, and John Eagle's facing a $40 million lawsuit.
Wow.
Mainly because the guy that was in the car didn't die. He got burned real bad. And that's a shame. But, and there's lots of arguments that say, yeah, well, that wreck would have probably killed him anyway. But at the end of the day, shops are being held to a higher standard, and legal has gotten involved now, because now you have companies that have, you look at the recent Caliber and Abra acquisition. What is that going to be, a $3 or $4 billion company? Maybe, I don't know the real facts, but you get an organization that's that big, the lawyers start going, well, let's make sure they're fixing cars right. They got targets on their head the size of the country. It's crazy. So, those guys everybody's got to fix cars right, because the lawyers have gotten involved, and now people are being held to a higher standard. There's technicians face potentially that can go to jail now.
Well, you should want to repair your, a car to a higher standard, because at least for me personally, if I repaired a car or a truck and I found out later that my repair killed somebody, that would be, at least for me, that would be a difficult thing to come to grips with.
Most people are not students of their craft. And most people just want to move it in, move it out, get paid, get their check, move on. And those guys are dangerous. And the bad thing is they don't even know they're dangerous. So there's some great groups out there, Collision Repair Technicians United, Mark Gabbard. Really, that group's probably the only group that I really follow religiously as far as a repair organization, because there's some guys in there that are changing the way people think. Larry Montanez, you got to love him or hate him, but he's a smart dude, and he knows his stuff. And, he works a lot with, there's a lot of guys, Kristen Felder with Collision Hubs. They're doing a lot to change the industry. And, I want to help support it.
For sure. I completely agree with you 100% on that.
So,
and I think, I think you are. I think that you're doing, you're making it so that guys who do know what they're doing, you're eliminating the waste and you're helping them to stay in business. The more, if they can make money, they can stay in business and they can help. They can make sure that cars are getting fixed correctly.
yeah, and that's the goal. That's the goal. And we got a lot more stuff we want to do. And you guys out there in listener land, if give us some business, let us earn your business. And we got we're trying to roll out at least 2 or 3 new products at a time. And we got our Mark Safe estimating arrows now we're doing for keeping from stopping from destroying paint finishes, and the dent viewer and the estimating kit and the magnetic rulers, and I mean, all this stuff is designed to either get you paid or help you fix the car faster. So we're going to keep doing it. I've got a list of 20 more things, I guess, but I got to try to sell some of this stuff and make this whole dream happen. So that's why we just keep every day pushing. And, guys like you here really help us, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk to anybody that wants to talk.
Well, hopefully there's at least one person out there who's willing to give you a call after listening to this.
Heck yeah, how about it?
Where can everybody find you?
Well, we are at Collision Edge on Instagram and Facebook. Our website is www.collisionedge.com. We're pretty easy to get a hold of, really. And if you talk to just about anybody out there, you won't find a soul that will tell you that we've ever done them wrong. So everything we sell is 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Rarely ever do I get a guy that calls me and says, your stuff really stinks. There's always guys like that. And it's funny that on social media, guys will say, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I was like, well, great, buy one. If you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. Just send it back to me. I don't care. Nobody ever calls me, right? And they, if you look on social media, you're going to find lots and lots of positive reviews for At Collision Edge. So check us out and give us a shot, and call us, and we'd love to help you. And if we can't sell you some stuff, we'll at least be a friend.
Well, I can tell you from my own personal experience that you guys are definitely, at the very least, worth giving a shot.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for coming on today, Tim. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, I guess it's bye for now.
Bye for now. But I'm sure that, we should definitely figure something else out that we can do in the future.
I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you very much, Tim.
All right, man. Thank you.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. The very first episode of the A1 Autobody podcast. Thank you to Tim Briggs for coming on and talking with us, and thank you to everyone for listening. If you want to learn more about us, you can find us on Instagram at A1AutobodyNH. Feel free to shoot us a DM, tag us and stuff. We love engaging with everyone and talking to everybody there, so we're looking forward to hearing from you. If you want to get a truck painted, give us a call at 603-623-7961 and ask for Rick, and he'll be happy to set up an appointment with you. Thank you again for listening this far. Shout out to my mom, who's probably the only person who actually made it this far into the episode. Love you. We have a lot of big plans for 2019, so if you love us, I got some great news for you. You're going to be hearing a lot more from us. If you hate us, I got some real bad news for you. You're going to be hearing a lot more from us. As for now, thank you very much for checking us out. Be safe, drive safe. This is A1 Autobody signing off.